Today's video was sponsored by Pop Culture Zone Pressing Services. If you need your comic books pressed, I personally vouch for Pop Culture Zone as being one of the best professional companies in the game, offering hands down the lowest prices out there. Services start at only $9.99, and every order placed will receive free fast track turnaround times. Even though I press comics for my personal collection, whenever I need a professional press for my key comics, I send them off to Pop Culture Zone, and every single book that I've received back, every single one has had results that have exceeded my expectations, and I am sure that they will exceed your expectations as well. Make sure you go check the link in the description below to head over to their website, popculturezone.com, for complete details on services and how to begin your order. What is going on, YouTube? Chris with Journos, Comics, and Pop Culture. So just this last weekend, I almost fell victim to what seemed to be a pretty classic bait and switch. And in this video today, we are going to dive deep into it. So I want to let everyone that's going to watch this video, first and foremost, it might be a little bit lengthy, but it's needing to be, and it's going to be worth the watch, because I'm going to go through all of the conversation step by step to show you guys what happened. Now, I want this video to be an educational video for both collectors and for sellers that might be in similar situations. I don't want this just to be a negative rant pitchfork video calling out some guy and just being extremely negative. I want this to be educational, all right? So before we get into it, of course, if you aren't subscribed to the channel, please take the time to do so. I make content almost every single day, but let's just get into this, folks. So many of you know I recently started dabbling into selling comics over this last 5 or 6 months, and I'm trying to build up an inventory, of course, and I've been posting on Craigslist, I've been posting on Facebook Marketplace, and so forth. So I posted on Facebook Marketplace about I'm interested in looking to buy collections. I'm very upfront about, I'm purchasing these collectors as pretty much a dealer, as a reseller. So this individual hit me up, and let's just start diving in to what transpired. And like I said, I'm going to break it all down so you guys can see exactly what I was going through during this conversation and how you can learn from this situation. So I reach out, say, he actually messaged me on the post, said, hey, I got a collection I'm looking to get off. I said, okay, I'm going to private message you. Hi, interested in what you're trying to get rid of. He says, I have a bit of everything, Batman, Spawn, Superman, Conan, mainly 80s and 90s, with some older ones also, kind of all over collection. Richie Rich, Archie, Sergeant Rocks, X-Men. Okay, so right there, remember, if you are a buyer in this situation, you got to take in all the details. Mainly 80s and 90s. That says something right there. It's probably not going to have Golden Age or even Silver Age keys, Spider-Man #1s or AF-15s or anything like that. And then Richie Rich, Archie, Sergeant Rock, all of those are B-list comics, dollar bin, 50-cent comic books in your store. So I asked for pictures. It's the first thing I wanted to do. This is a reprint right here. This is not the first appearance of Batgirl. It is a reprint that doesn't have much value. This right here is the first appearance of Grim Reaper. This is, depending on the grade, maybe a $20 to $50 book. And then you can see all this other 90s stuff right here that's not, 80s and 90s stuff, not very much value. Does have a World's Finest 12 center. Now, keep in mind, I don't know the grade on these. I zoomed in on all of them. They all look to be mid-grade, somewhere in the mid-grade range. Nothing looked to be super near mint. You got some nice Bronze Age Batman in here, which is solid. It's something that I would look for to fill holes in my collection and potentially sell if I already have it. But then there's not much of that. You got a couple of Transformer books, but you got a lot of 90s and 80s, just, random stuff. Some Venom stuff, maybe you get a few bucks for. No keys. Some nice Star Wars stuff that, you could sell. You can move this stuff. Nothing that, no keys like Heir to the Empire or anything like that I'm familiar with, just looking at this. And of course, this is all 90s to 2000s, a Dark Horse Star Wars. So that's cool. I'd be interested in that. But then you got a lot of this, a lot of Valiant, some Image stuff, a lot of just stuff that is basically worthless. After all those pictures, I continue on Thanks. Do you have an asking price in mind? As a buyer that's looking to buy collections in order to resell, that's one of the first things that I encourage folks to do. Ask them if they have an asking price in mind, because it can save time. If you have a collection that you're willing to pay $500 for and their asking price is $3,000, then you could probably close the door right there and say, well, it might just not be for me. Or you can wiggle and find a middle ground and see what they have to say. This individual's reply right here speaks volumes to how, or set the groundwork of how I moved forward. No clue. Do you have an asking price? No clue. So this tells me that this guy doesn't necessarily know what he has, or just hasn't taken the time to look, and he just wants to sell in bulk. And that's okay. Some people don't want to take the time to look into their collection and really price everything out. They're like, he says, you have 11 short boxes? No, he has 11 long boxes. I just want to get them out. Maybe that's what he's thinking. I want something for it. I definitely like to come take a look. I have an SUV and most likely won't be able to fit all 11 in at once, which means 2 trips. You're in Manteca, Lathrop, right next to Manteca. Okay, so that's a 70-minute drive for me. I said I'm definitely interested. It's a 70-minute drive. It would help me gauge and offer better if you have time to send more pictures and even an overview shot of all the boxes, because at this point in time, I wanted to make sure that this individual had 11 long boxes of comics. So that's another thing. See the whole collection. So can you take a picture of just all the boxes, right? And if you have time, shoot me some more of what you got in it. I also asked, would you be able to estimate the percentage of era and percentage of publisher? So say like, well, 80% of it is from the 80s and 90s, or 90%, or 50% of it is random Valiant and Image stuff from the 90s, and the other half of it is a mix between DC and Marvel. That's going to help me gauge more of what he has and what type of offer I'm willing to make. Goes on to say probably half and half of Marvel and DC. And that didn't clarify here really. The biggest I have are Batman, Conan, Superman, some Image, Dark Horse, Walt Disney, Archie, Richie Rich, a lot of 90s. I used to work for a magazine distribution company, so it grew in the 90s like crazy. So again, I'm taking this information. First off, he's not really answering my question too specifically, and he's really focusing on a lot of stuff. First off, Superman doesn't sell that well. Even Silver Age Superman, unless the specific keys. For Superman to sell well, you got to go to early Silver Age and Golden Age stuff, unless it's really high grade or specific keys. And in the 70s and 80s and 90s, there weren't a lot of keys in Superman comic books. Image, Dark Horse, Walt Disney, Archie, Richie Rich, all of that stuff, 50-cent bin stuff, dollar bin stuff for the most part, right? Unless you talk about specific keys. So I reply, can you give me a bird's eye view of all the boxes, maybe with the lids off? And I'm assuming all 11 boxes are pretty full, just to get an idea of the exact number of books. Yes, pretty full end to end. So more than a day goes by and I don't get a reply. So I'm like, okay, are you not willing to just snap a quick little picture of all the boxes sitting there? So I don't even know if this guy has 11 long boxes. He's telling me he is, but I don't know yet. So I don't hear from him. I reply back. So from what I have to gauge, and remember, he's not giving me much here. He says, I don't know about an offer. He's not sending me pictures of the entire collection. He's not being more descriptive of exactly what he has. So from what I have to gauge, I say there's not too much value here. I mean, the biggest book that I saw in the pictures was what? That Batman, was it 220 something, the first appearance of Grim Reaper. There was a couple of, like Tomb of Dracula books, not keys, that, maybe anywhere from $5 to $10 books. There was, some of the Wanda and Vision and Scarlet Witch miniseries, not the keys though. And even those have crashed down in price. So not much value there that I saw whatsoever. The majority of it was 90s stuff. Like even the Batman stuff was like not even Detective Comics or the Batman run. It was those side story, like limited series stuff that, again, you might find in 50-cent bins. So I go on to say, what I have to gauge, there's not much value here, especially in 90s books. There's probably a good amount that I wouldn't even be able to sell and would just use as giveaways and donations, like 90s indie stuff. Like, honestly, I probably wouldn't even try to sell most of that Valiant stuff unless I sold it in large lots for dirt cheap. Taking into consideration, this is for my business and all the costs that I have to incur from traveling. Again, with gas, it's 6 something a gallon, traveling 75 miles, to paying taxes on it. I could offer you $400 for all 11 boxes, and most likely will need to take 2 trips to pick up. Another option would be for me to maybe just pick the best 5 or 6 boxes, however many I can fit in my SUV. No. Let's slow down here. Before you guys say, whoa, $400, Chris, you are low balling, okay? We're going to do some math. And he says here, no, I can't do $400. I've sold a handful for more than that. Okay, before I get into that, let's crunch some numbers, guys. You got 11 long boxes, right? If they're filled to the brim, they could fit anywhere from, most of them are bagged and board. You guys saw that. 250 to 275 in each box, okay? So you're looking at about 2,700 comic books to 3,000 comic books. So my offer of $400, that's about 15 cents a book. That is higher than a lot of what your LCSs are going to pay for a lot like this. And I say this later on too, but I'll brief you guys right now. You got to understand, for even if there is a couple of books that are worth $50 or $100 or maybe a couple $100, you got to consider that half of what is in there, especially from what I've seen, I'm going in blind. I have to drive 75 miles there and 75 miles back. Quite honestly, that's probably about $150 in gas right there. No lie. So add that on top of the purchase price, right? Then if I was to buy the whole collection, I'd have to make another trip. That's another 150 miles. That's another close to 100, what I say, 150 $150. I mean, round trip, maybe $100. So you got to look at a couple $100 in gas on top of it, folks. But you got to take into consideration that half of the books I won't be able to sell. Let's just take 1,000. Say 1,000 of them are 90s indie stuff or just random obscure stuff that has no value. They're probably reader copies and beat up. That leaves me with about 1,700 comics. At that $400 asking price, that right there brings me up to about 25 cents a book. And then you take into gas considerations. I have to pay taxes on it. I'm getting hit very hard already, but let's continue on. He says he can't do the $400. I sold a handful for more than that. I said, okay, look, okay. I understand. I'm open to hearing what you think is fair. It's just going in mostly blind. I can't put myself in a position to lose money. If you are able to get more pictures so I can have a better understanding of the value, then that would allow me to offer higher. Obviously, Marvel and DC stuff holds more value than most indie stuff. From what I've seen, or what you have listed so far, the Valiant stuff has practically zero resale value. So a better idea of what you have from Marvel and DC would help. You don't need to take a bunch of individual pictures. Maybe just pull some random books up from the boxes here and there. He says, gotcha. Yeah, a lot of the Image and other indie comics are worth basically nothing. Think a few, maybe $5, and that was luck. Okay, well, it seems like he's being honest here because absolutely, I agree. I say for sure. I'm contemplating about making a trip down Saturday if you'd be able or available, but I would at least like to have some type of better gauge of what might work for both of us to make sure both parties would be happy. I don't want you to take a lot of time taking a whole bunch of pictures, but it would be worth allowing me to get a better idea of the type of value that you have. He says, I will do more pictures as soon as I can, and let me know you come down this way. Glad to show you. Sounds good. Thanks. So what I'm trying to get out of him here is, okay, you don't want $400. That's fine. But you also say you have no clue. So you either got to give me a price that you think is fair, or you got to show me more of what you have. Because, and look, if this guy lived 15 minutes away, it'd be different, right? I would I wouldn't even sweat them too much. I'd get in the car, I'd go down. I wouldn't miss out going through every single bin and seeing if we could be face to face and make an offer. Because I mean, and you're going to see the offer that I counter with here, but he's not. Unfortunately, he's not 15 minutes away. He's 75 miles away. It's an hour and a half away practically. So I have to approach him in this manner. He has a lot of books here. He's got a potential to make a good amount of money. So he doesn't respond for a while. It's like a whole other day, and that's fine. And he actually takes video clips of some of the boxes, which I thought was really awesome. Now, I can't show you guys the video clips, but you could see what was in there. A lot of this kind of random, he had ElfQuest stuff, some Willow stuff. So again, stuff that you find in $1.50 bins. And like I said, there was a couple of, there was a Bronze Age book here and there, but even the Bronze Age stuff, it wasn't like of main titles. It was like subtitles that just weren't worth a lot of money. No keys. I'm seeing absolutely no key, not even minor keys at all. Some more Star Wars stuff, but again, most of the Star Wars stuff was Dark Horse stuff and no big keys. This is what I reply. I say, this helps. If you could send this of more of the boxes, I would appreciate it. There is definitely some stuff that is good. I always like Star Wars stuff, but to be honest, the large majority of what you have in these two boxes, at least, is stuff that will sit in 50-cent bins and dollar bins at comic shops. I don't know if there is enough decent stuff to offset having a lot of inventory that I can't move, if that makes sense. But if you could show a couple more boxes, that would be great. So this was in the AM of Thursday. He gives me a thumbs up. Again, he's not giving me a lot of, response at this point in time. So I waited all day and came back then that night. And I said, okay, look, I pulled, first off, keep in mind, he hasn't even told me if he'd be willing to sell me half of the lot or 5 boxes or 6 boxes, whatever I can fit in my vehicle. He hasn't even responded to that at all. So again, big question mark. I say, look, I pulled out a few empty long boxes to get an idea of what I could fit in my vehicle. Looks like I could fit 6 long boxes in for sure, with room for at least a couple of short boxes in the back. I'm going to be out with my kids on Saturday if I come down, but I might be able to put a couple of short boxes next to them. I could bring short boxes to transfer a couple of your long boxes into them to play Tetris, right? So I'm going to guess that I could probably fit 7 to 8 of your boxes worth of comics. Knowing this, would you be willing to make a deal for 7 to 8 instead of all 11? No response. He looked at it because you could see if they read your message. No response. So next day. Okay, I got nothing from you, so I'm even thinking now that I could bring a couple of suitcases, that I could pull some comics out and stuff in those suitcases, and I can rope them to my, my rack on top of the SUV. So I'm trying to get as creative as possible to be able to take his entire collection. Let me know if you have any more video clips of the other boxes. I still want to get a better idea of what we both think would be a fair offer. I'm definitely willing to come out there, but I don't want to, I'm definitely willing to come up on my offer price, but I don't want to come too high, still not knowing the bulk of the other boxes. So it's been like almost 2 days since I asked him to get me more video clips. And, I talked about if he can offer a deal on a portion of the collection, nothing. And here again, he says, okay. Okay is not enough. So the communication seems to be breaking down. As time goes by, the communication is breaking down, and I'm kind of just like drilling him more and more. Like, come on, man, give me something. So I reply, should I expect any other videos of the boxes from you? As soon as I can. Okay. All right, I'm waiting. So finally, Friday night, he does it. And, you can see here, what is this like? I don't even know what that is. Some Archie stuff. A lot of Archie stuff. A lot of Bugs Bunny, Dell, 70s, not even old golden age, but like 70s Dell stuff that just, again, it just 50 cent dollar bin stuff, not in high, none of it's in high grade. So I say this. So that's roughly half of the, I meant to say half of the collection that I've seen. Still a lot of stuff that would be extremely hard to move. There's some nice stuff too, like the Star Wars stuff and a few other Marvel and DC, but not anything crazy. I can up my offer to $750 from what I see. He reads it, I get no response. Okay, so let me just tell you guys here. I'm offering $750 now for roughly 2,700 comics. I'm up to like 28 cents a book, and I haven't seen more than a couple of books that might be worth $20 to $50. And he's not responding. So I come back, he reads my message, and I come back with this. I think at this point, if I'm not in your range, it would be best if you gave me a number of what's in your ballpark. This is his response, folks. Not sure. Have a lot of comics. Oh my goodness. Okay, so do you see why at this point I'm getting frustrated? You're telling me you can't accept my offer of $400. Fine. But you told me that you don't have a clue of what you want to take. I almost double my offer to $750 and you don't respond, and now you're saying, not sure, I have a lot of comics. I see that you have a lot of comics. You've gone through more than half of them, and I'm not seeing much of anything that is really making me want to up my offer even more. This is what I say. You have a lot of stuff that is hard to move, especially in volume. If you take this to a comic store, standard going rate is 10 cents a book. If you have 11 long boxes, there's anywhere between 2,500 to 300 books, roughly. So expect to get an offer of $300. And I'm being completely honest. A lot of shops probably would cherry pick because a lot of what you have would actually cost them to hold in inventory because it's hard to move. That's why my initial offer was $400, because it's still above the standard bulk rate. My last offer was almost double my first. I'm a collector at heart that wants to open his own shop, and I'm just now starting out wanting to build inventory, so I'm willing to pay more just to have something that can get me going. Even if I take a loss on some stuff. So far, I've only seen a few books that I could sell for maybe $20. And again, I don't even know the grade. So I don't know the grades. They could be 20 to 50, maybe. No big valuable book worth hundreds of thousands. Okay, this is his response. No hundreds of thousands, I wish. A few between 100 and 200 at current values. A few less, just depending on what people are looking for. That's pretty much how I sell. I join Facebook groups, see what people are looking for. Okay. This is where I'm starting to feel it, folks. And again, if you're a buyer, red flags. You told me that you have no clue of what you want for this book, for these books. You also are telling me that you have no idea of really what's in there and what you want for it because there's so many books. Look at right here. He just said this. Not sure, have a lot of comics. But now you're telling me that there are a few comic books in there that are worth anywhere from $100 to $200 at current values. So you do know what you have or you don't. What is it? My reply. My advice, and this is for you sellers out there. This is for all of you sellers out there. My advice to folks is that if you want to get the best bang for your buck, you have to take the time to price out and research every book. People sometimes think selling in large amounts means more money, but collectors, for the most part, do not buy in bulk like this. Only dealers or people looking to sell and resell, and they have to purchase at bulk prices in order to make a profit. He responds, yeah, that's what I've been doing, going through each box, looking them up. Okay, so You didn't tell me that in the beginning. You knew I wanted to buy in bulk. You told me you had 11 long boxes that you wanted to get off. I asked you if you knew what you had, and if you had an asking price, you said no. You said no multiple times to multiple offers and said, I just have a lot of books. Now you're telling me you're going through each comic book and looking them up. So this is what I say. So, are you wanting to sell in bulk, or are you wanting to sell them individually? Because if you pull anything that has a little bit of value, 75% of what I have seen in those 5 long boxes that you've shown me is either dollar bin fodder or has no value. Or if you know what you have to shoot me a number that you want, a price that you want. Been doing individually, he says, to see what the values are. Got a lot to still go through. I kind of know what I have, but still going through them. Haven't done Superman box or Conan box yet. Keep in mind, folks, this is the same night. This is the same night that he said this. After I offered him the $750, he says, and he didn't respond, and I said, look, man, you gotta give me a number. What's fair? What's in your ballpark? Not sure, have a lot of comic books. That same night, probably not even an hour later, he says that he's actually looking them up individually, and he's seeing what the values are, and he kind of knows what he has. Wow. Okay. This is what I say. You haven't been giving me much to go on here. If we make a deal, my only day to pick up is tomorrow. I will say this, and this is me like trying to close the door. My max offer I can offer is for $1,000. Just so you know, you guys know, $1,000, that's roughly 35 to 40 cents a book. For 11 long boxes of stuff that is majority 50-cent stuff at LCS's or dollar bin stuff at LCS's. My max offer I can give you is $1,000, and that's for as much as I could fit in my SUV, including filling up a couple suitcases to put on top of my vehicle. But my offer is contingent on making sure when I get there, the roughly maybe 9 long boxes worth of stuff is worth it, and I can leave behind like the Image and Valiant stuff, etc. I would also hope that nothing was pulled from the boxes that you showed me. I've heard a lot of horror stories of bait and switch, so I'd want, of course, to go through everything before making an exchange. So what I'm saying is this. I'm actually making $1,000 offer for less than what he has, for like 500 books less than what he has. So that's roughly, at that point, 50 cents a book close to. But I'm telling him, I want to fit as much as I can. I'll give you $1,000, but I'm leaving behind the Valiant in the Image, in the stuff that I feel is the least valuable. And I tell him, I don't want no bait and switch going on here. And this is what he says. Got too many to even try to switch around. Years ago, I tried to put them together, Superman with Superman Spawn, etc., etc. Okay. Again, this is a very cryptic response. He doesn't respond to my offer. He doesn't say, yes, I'll accept that offer, or no, I don't want to accept your offer. He simply says, got too many to even switch around. And I want you all to remember this comment that he wrote. Remember this reply in a minute here. So I'm taking this as, okay, he likes my offer. He didn't say no, and he responds saying, oh, don't worry, I didn't switch anything around. So I'm thinking, okay, well, then you're down with what I just offered you. And because I want assurance, I say this, okay, as long as I could go through each box before I load them up, I would be good with that. And what can't fit, I could pick. And what can't fit, I could pick what I pull out, like the indie stuff. Meaning, what can't fit, I decide. I decide what stays behind. No, he reads it, he sees it, no response. Couple hours later, because this is Friday night, I'm looking to go Saturday. I'm like, okay, no response. So I say, just let me know if that will work for you. I'll be headed out to South Sac in the morning to go skateboarding with my sons, but it would be nice to know if you want to accept or decline by early AM tomorrow so I can know if I need to go to the bank. Just think on it and let me know either or, yes or no. He messaged me Saturday morning. I want to keep 4 of the boxes, so I could do 8 boxes for $1,000. I'm not completely against this. So I say, are these 4 specific ones that you're setting aside, or can I pick my 8? Kind of to the contingencies of what I was saying. Like, can I decide what stays behind? Can I pull out the Valiant in the image, in the stuff that I don't want, and pick the 8 that I'm getting, and mix and match and fill 8 boxes to my liking? He says, nope. This is 4 specific ones that I'm setting aside, what I want to hang on to, he says. So what boxes are left, you could go through. I think I got most, he does say, I think I got most of the images into the boxes that I want to keep, unless I missed a few. The only boxes I really haven't gone through is the Superman box and Conan. Now, I don't know what that means. Like, you not going through boxes of Superman and Conan is irrelevant at this point, because you're saying that you have 4 specific boxes that you set aside that you want to keep, and 8 that you want to give me for $1,000. So I say this, honestly, that comes off like you cherry-picked the collection and are trying to throw me what's left. Let me ask you this. Every box that you did the videos of, remember he was showing me pictures and doing videos, pulling books, going through, flipping through the boxes. Did you pull anything from those to keep? Now, before I show his response, remember what he said right here. Got too many to even try to switch around. Right? Remember that. And I just ask him, all those boxes that you showed me in the videos, that you flipped through every single one, did you pull any from those to keep? The 4 boxes I want are mostly comics I have looked up and listed on comic groups. I sent you videos of a couple of the boxes I thought about and I want to keep. Like I said, I have not went through every box, but will eventually when I get the time. It's just way too many to go through all at once. So again, he's being extremely cryptic. He's not answering my questions straightforward. And he says that the videos of the boxes that I thought about and want to keep... Wait, what? So you showed me boxes, but now you want to keep those? First off, the grammar doesn't make any sense. So I have to clarify again. So I am assuming that the only decent stuff that I saw has been pulled. Possibly. Got too many to even try to switch around. Oh, but you showed me boxes and you picked and pulled the good stuff from them? Possibly. That's called cherry picking. That's called bait and switch. Again, he says, and we're not done. We're not done. He says, again, have not went through every box. So the X-Men, Superman, some Batman, Conan, Spawn, Alien vs. Predator, Cable, Too Many Dimensions still mixed up in other boxes. What boxes? The one that you're keeping or the ones that you just offered me, the 8 that you offered me for $1K? Here's what I can do if you aren't in a hurry. I can go through the boxes, make a list of everything I got. That'd probably be easier for you. Well, so you just made me an offer of the 8 boxes, regardless of if you went through them or not, right? I say this, that wouldn't be worth it for you. It wouldn't be worth it for you or me, because most of what you have is stuff that can't sell. And that's the honest truth. Listing out 50-cent bin books in that amount would be counterproductive. Give you a better idea of what Superman Batman is. I need to do that eventually anyways. Why? You just offered me those 8 boxes for a grand. Why do you need to eventually go through those anyways? It's not making sense. I say, did you pull out any of the Star Wars or Batman that you showed me, or the 1970s Marvel? The Star Wars and some Batman I pulled and put together to see what I had, because some I know I don't have many of, like the... Oh, my, first off, I don't even know what he's saying at this point, guys. I'm sure you're with me on this. Here's what I will do, he says. I will go through the boxes and put everything that's low value together, yard sale comics, that kind of valuable comics together to get a better idea of what you are looking for. Dude, I just told you, yard sale stuff is not, I'm not looking for to make an offer on just that. It makes it worthless. I've been telling you that for almost a week now. And he says, it's something I need to do anyways. So I could seriously jump into selling them. Have them 30 plus years too long. If you're looking for the higher value comics and not the low value ones, that'd be a better way to do it. I will get started on it ASAP, but my grandson is here. Got to get going. So now it sounds like he's trying to fair market value everything he has, including the 8 boxes that he just offered me for $1,000. That he said you could come look through them. If you have 8 boxes set aside and you offered me them for a set price, why do you still need to go through them and separate yard sale stuff and stuff that's higher value? This is what I say. If you take into consideration his 8 long boxes, right, for $1,000, that's roughly, 8 long boxes for $1,000. That's $125 per box. I say this. I was going to offer you $100 a long box to counter your $1K for the 8. But knowing that you've cherry picked them, I can't even do that. That would be me paying close to 50 cents a book for books that don't even sell for 50 cents in comic shops. The only thing I could suggest at this point is let me build my own boxes out of the 8, but I can't guarantee how much I take, and I will pay $100 for each box. I say maybe I'll only take 2 boxes, maybe I'll take 5. That's the best I can do. So basically I'm saying, let me go there, go through the 8 that you would have offered me at $125 each. I might take all 8 of them for $100 each. I might take 5, I might take 2. And he says this. Most books I have are valued more than dollar bin books. That's why I am saying I can go through them and separate them out. The lower value books and mark those boxes and the higher value books in boxes. And I'm like, no, just stop. I say, let me know if you're willing to take $100 a box for me to pick what I want. That's the final offer I can do today. I'm willing to call by phone if you want to talk to discuss, but that's my final offer. Out of the 8, of course, you keep in your 4. Out of the 8, $100 a box. The boxes I get to pick, final offer. He says this, not going to sell books I know that I know are worth between $50 and $200 in a box of books for $100. You literally just told me that you cherry pick the good stuff, and $800 is only $200 off of your asking offer for those 8 boxes. At $1K, you were willing to give me the books at 50 cents a piece. I'm asking them at 40 cents a piece. So let me explain this to you guys watching. He now says that he's not going to sell books that he knows are worth $50 to $200 in a box of books for $100. But he was just willing to give me them at $125. That makes no sense. You were just willing to give me books at 50 cents a piece, where there might have been a book worth $50 to $200 in there, but you're not going to give them to me at 40 cents a piece? That shows me right there that he was never serious about his offer. When he finally put an offer on the table, when he finally put that offer of $1,000 for the 8 boxes that he already cherry picked, he's telling me that he wasn't serious with that offer, and I would have drove 75 miles there and 75 miles back, and he would have not stood firm with the offer he gave me. I would have drove there with the $1,000 for 8 box offer, and by the time I got there, I guarantee you that offer would have been off the table. He says, like I said, I went through some boxes I've been selling for what they are worth. Have not went through every box yet. He's talking literal circles around me. This is almost to an extent of gaslighting, making me seem like I'm crazy here. I left them voice message and said straight up that I told him, you were just willing to make me an offer of these boxes at 125, but now my $100 offer per box is so crazy because you're not going to sell a $50 to $100 to $200 book for that low. And he finalizes a statement of saying, I'm just going to go through them all. I'm going to go through them all and price them with current going values. Best I can do. Now he says, I'm not in a hurry to sell them. He wants to keep most of the high value books. This is what I told him in these boxes, or in these boxes, in these voice messages. I told him straight up, you shouldn't have wasted my time and your own time. I said, it appears to me that, and this is what I think, guys. This is what I think happened. And this here is a message to you and a learning experience for all of you sellers out there. Never get into a, never PM, never start a line of communication, never open a line of communication with a possible buyer if you don't know what you want. Don't open a line of communication until you have at least a foundation. Now, I'm not saying you need to know an exact price or anything like that, but you have to know a groundwork, a framework of what you're looking for. And that groundwork and framework here would be, do you want to sell bulk or do you want to go through and get a better idea of individual value? He should have known that before jumping in a conversation with me. And what I feel happened was, as he was talking to me, and he reached out to me, remember that. I didn't reach out to him. He hit me up and say, hey, you buy in bulk? I have 11 long boxes. PM me. And I said, okay. As we were talking, he was going through his books and he realized, I want to maximize my return on investment. And look, there's nothing wrong with that. He might have some books in here that are worth $100 or $200 each. He might have 50 books that are decent key books that he could sell for $1,000 on their own. That might be the case. But he should have known that or clarified that before wasting a week's time being extremely cryptic with me and wasting my time. And I'm trying to give him the benefit of the doubt to say that he wasn't trying to bait and switch me, but I absolutely believe he was, because if he wasn't, I feel like he would have been more upfront with his answers. I would have feel like he would have been more upfront with, like, even responding to my counter offer to say, nope, can't do it. No, can't do it. I feel like he should have told me in the first place that he was going through them and pricing them out. But he told me the complete opposite. While he was pricing them out, he told me, I don't know what I have. There's so many books. It's not being very transparent. So for me, I'm glad I did not drive all that way, because it would have been a complete waste of time. There's a part of me that, says, oh man, maybe he would have had something. But the other part of me knows better and knows that this guy cherry-picked the hell out of his boxes. I know for a fact. And him saying, I kept some of the image stuff. I think that was him trying to still bait and switch me and get me out there to think that he pulled some of the, quarter bin fodder stuff. I don't know, folks. But like I said, here's the tips that I want everyone to take away as sellers and buyers. Sellers, again, be upfront. Be upfront with your potential buyers. Know what you want. If you want fair market value for your books, go into it wanting fair market value. You got to do your homework. Look up the values. Separate it into smaller lots. Maybe if you don't want to price everything out, but you can still separate into smaller lots to get more bang for your buck. Collectors will buy short box of 125 books for $100. Collectors will dive into that, but collectors don't have a lot of money in their pocket for 11 long boxes worth of comics that isn't going to tend to their collection. They would rather go buy probably a few key books, So that's my advice to the sellers. And for the buyers, be very careful with things like this. Like I said, if he lived 10, 15 minutes away, I would have driven down there. Fine, no biggie. But if it's something that's going to take more money and time and effort out of your day, and the individual isn't willing to have an open line of communication to be more transparent with what they have and what they're expecting and what they offer, most likely it's going to be a waste of your time. And I want to say one last time before I end this video, for anybody that thinks that my $400 offer or even my $750 offer was low, this is why you offer that much. This is why. Because I know it was still higher than the going bulk rate. And I know, or I had a feeling that this individual didn't have much or was cherry picking. And I'm going to tell you all right now, and I really hope everyone stuck around to the end to hear me say this. I'm going to tell you right now, if he would have accepted my offer of 400 or maybe countered with 500 or 600 or even accepted my offer of 750, if I would have went in there and found a Hulk 181 or found a, Batman Adventures number 12 or something like that, I'm not saying I'm going to give him fair market value for it, because it's up to a seller to do their due diligence. And he even said in there, I've had this for 30 years too long. It needs to go. If he just wanted it to go and we agreed on an offer, that's on them. But I would have said, hey, look, you had a few books in here that are really solid. I would have probably dropped them a couple $100 more, because I know that I can then make that money back. And it depends on the situation. I'm not sure I'd sit there and say, hey, you got this specific book. But if there was some stuff in there, I would be as transparent as possible to know that to say this, to tip them, right? I would basically, it would be like a gratuity tip for me as a business and to look at how I'm spending my money, because I want to be an ethical person. But that's why I offered what I did, and I'm glad I did, because if I would have offered more, even that $1,000 was a very, very risky offer where it could have literally took me a year in Whatnot sales just to make that money back. I could have bought these 11 long boxes and it could have took me a year just to break even. Because you got eBay, you got fees, you got 12% taken off plus 30-cent listing fees, shipping costs, Gemini mailers, all that. That's my video for today, folks. Like I said, I knew it was going to be a long one, but well worth it. I think, like I said, this is a good learning experience for collectors and sellers. Let me know what you all think in the comments below. Thank you guys for watching. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so yet. Be well, and until next time.